people-to-people diplomacy aims at promoting the friendship and advanced relations between countries. And the people-to-people relations that exist between Australia and the Republic of Ghana has played a major role in solidifying our bilateral relations, promoting mutual understanding. Today, we sit with Her Excellency Berenice Owen-Jones, the High Commissioner of Australia to the Republic of Ghana, to delve deeper into the Australia-Ghana bilateral diplomacy. We will also touch on the AUSTRADE policies in deepening our economic diplomacy, the direct aid assistive programs, initiatives towards women empowerment and higher education. Also, during the interview, we will touch on the strategic partnership between the two governments, that is Australia and the Republic of Ghana, on issues of common interest such as gender equality, development, peace, and security. Her Excellency Owen-Jones comes to Accra with a wealth of experience and expertise in diplomacy, having served in numerous capacities to boost and solidify Australia's bilateral relations with countries around the world. She previously served as Ambassador of Australia to the Kingdom of Morocco. Without much ado, kindly join me in welcoming the woman behind the office, Her Excellency Berenice Owen-Jones, the High Commissioner of Australia to the Republic of Ghana, on the Youth Time Show on Grace Live TV. My name is Vanessa Zik-Ade-Adu, and you are watching the Youth Time Show on Grace Live TV. Don't go anywhere. The show commences very shortly. Thank you. Welcome to the Youth Time Show on Grace Live TV. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm here with Her Excellency Berenice Owen-Jones, the High Commissioner of Australia to Ghana. Your Excellency, Akwaba.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise, thank you so much.
And welcome to the Australian High Commission.
Medasi Bebre. So if I say Etiseng, how do you respond? You respond Eye.
To Medasi?
No. Etiseng is how are you doing?
Yes.
They respond Eye.
Okay, well, I've learned something new today.
Right, thank you so much.
I'm still working on my
𝐶𝐻.
on my 𝐶𝐻. Medase, I knew. Mm-hmm. I might try and slip in a few words.
Right, during
the interview. We'll see how I go. Don't mark me on it, though.
No. But can we start? As you possess decades of experience in diplomacy, as we mentioned earlier, you've served as Ambassador of Australia to Morocco, and also you worked at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in Australia. Now, coming to the office here in Accra, how has the work been so far?
Well, it's been, I've been here for a year and a half, bit more than a year and a half. And it's been a very busy time because there's a lot going on in the bilateral relationship, and I hope I'll get to touch a bit more upon that, on that during the interview. But I've been struck by the depth of the relationship, how varied it is. And I should add, as background, that I also cover 8 other countries in the region.
Oh, wow.
So a good patch in West Africa. And it's been very interesting to have that overview of the region as well. But it's been fantastic. The last year and a half, I've got a great team at the High Commission, and so many interesting issues to work on. So yes, I'm here probably for another, not more than 2 years at least.
That is great. So delving into our bilateral relations, history has it that Australia has been in contact, let's say, established bilateral relations with Ghana during the independence era till now. So it's approximately 70 years of solid bilateral relations between Australia and Ghana. How would you describe our bilateral relations and its long-term importance for both countries?
Well, you're right. It's a very solid and long-standing relationship. We were one of the first embassies, or High Commission in our case, to open here in Accra after independence. So it would have been early 1958. And it's a deep relationship underpinned by strong people-to-people links. At the moment, close to 10,000 Ghanaians call Australia home, but also shared interests and common values, supporting democracy, good governance. And we also work very well with Ghana on foreign policy and security issues. Ghana has a very influential voice, not just in the region, but in international fora. And we're working with Ghana in many of those international fora and working well. So there's that depth of relationship from bilateral relations, foreign policy, consular, people-to-people links, public diplomacy, and also development. And well, I hope we'll get a chance to delve a bit more into that. But there's also substantial commercial links. Okay. So it's a multifaceted relationship. And I'm pleased to say it's one of those, it's a fairly easy relationship. There's no bilateral irritant.
That is great. Yeah. So that has been the approximately 70-year period. For
yes.
the next 70 years, what would you like to see in the bilateral relations between Australia and Ghana? That is, if we will be here to witness it.
Yes. So I don't know whether I'll be here for the next 70 years, but I would very much like to see relations diversify. So I've mentioned people-to-people links. I think there's a lot more that we can do to deepen those links. I mentioned the commercial relationship. Again, we'll probably have a chance to talk a bit more about that. But it's very much dominated by mining, and that's been a force for good, I think, in relationship, but there's more that we can do. And I would also like to, personally, I won't have 70 years to do it, but when I leave in a couple of years, I'd like to leave a bit of a legacy behind. And that legacy will be a more varied relationship across the board.
Wow, thank you so much. Now, touching on economic diplomacy, as you mentioned earlier, which is one of the pivotal areas in our bilateral relations. Now, according to the Observatory of Economic Complexity, one of the data analysts that analyzes international trade, they have it that in the year 2021, trade exports from Australia to Ghana amounted to $86.7 million and concurrently $190 million. Now, how is the Australian trade, that is Austrade, helping or liaising with the Ministry of Trade and Industry here in Ghana to boost our economic diplomacy?
Well, that is one of my priorities. The figures you quote sound about right. So the figures that I carry on my head are about $233 million. Both ways, two-way trade. But that doesn't tell the whole story because, in fact, there's an enormous amount of investment, and that's not captured by those two-way trade figures. Investment mainly in the extractive sector.
Great.
So in terms of boosting commercial relations, you're right, we work closely. And it's one of my priorities as a High Commissioner here to work closely with AUSTRADE, our trade promotion agency, to deepen commercial links. So it's not just investment, but it's also two-way trade flows in both directions. In order to do that, recently, a couple of months ago, we launched an Australia-Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Minister of Trade was there to launch the chamber. So I'm hoping that will be another feature in the architecture of the relationship that will help us a little bit in diversifying. But in saying that, I have to say you cannot understate the importance of our contribution to Ghana's extractive sector. Australian expertise, investment in that sector, it's pervasive. It's in exploration, METs, exploitation, training, capacity building. And to give you an example, Atlantic Lithium is developing the first lithium mine in Ghana. And I'm very proud of the contribution that mining makes to Ghana's mining industry, but also more broadly to the economy, not just through the royalties that are getting paid, but the employment that it creates, the transfer of knowledge and transfer of technology. And this has been going on for several decades. Gold, but now also critical minerals.
Yeah, that is great. With all the Austrade policies now coming to where most of us will be interested in. During the International Day of the Eradication of Poverty, one area of the SDG that is close to my heart, the Australian Direct Aid Program launched an initiative that will help women empowerment. Can you shed light on this policy or program and its long-term importance towards women empowerment in Ghana?
So the economic empowerment of women and girls is an important priority, not just for us here at the High Commission, but of our foreign policy, Australian foreign policy more broadly. And it is obviously a key focus for us here in Ghana as part of our direct aid program. I would say that about 80% of our projects have somehow improve the lot of women or girls here in Ghana and all across the region, all the regions of Ghana. Over the last 2 decades, I'd say roughly, we've contributed to about 350 projects impacting with direct impacts on local communities. And to give you an example, the last year alone, we were running several agribusiness type projects that allowed some 1,100 women to develop their own business. So this is mainly agribusiness, as I said, so shea butter processing, snails, and also another area of agribusiness. But and it gives them, we give them the inputs, we give them the training, and they're launched. They have they can actually have their own livelihood. And it's one of the aspects of the job I'm very proud of, because I can see that we're making a visible difference in those communities.
A huge difference.
So that's obviously a key SDG priority for us.
Wow, that is great. And does the direct aid program transcend to other parts, like the youth holistically? Because we mentioned initially assisting youth entrepreneurs and all. Are we going to see a move from that, or a shift or an extension of the direct aid program in other parts in other parts of youth development in Ghana?
Yes, we could. And I would be very interested in hearing about good projects run by civil society that we can partner with to broaden it out to youth and entrepreneurship more broadly. I've started these kind of conversations already. Last year, I was talking to the delegation going to the Global Entrepreneurship Forum held in Melbourne, and we talked about ideas. So I'm really keen to follow up on that. So I don't know whether this is a good forum to put the word out that we're looking for that kind of collaboration through our direct aid program. You mentioned entrepreneurship, and I mentioned the example of women. That's a good example, because we're moving them out of the informal economy and giving them a means. We're turning them into small-scale entrepreneurs and giving them power. So that's what we mean by the economic empowerment of women. So it's close to my heart, but it's also aligns with our foreign and development policy.
That is great. So looking at what the AUSTRADE is doing, looking at what the direct aid program is doing, we are in the year 2024. That means we have 6 years to the end of 2030, where we will assess the sustainable development goals. How is Australia, or let me say, how is the Australian High Commission here in Ghana helping the country to attain the sustainable development goals holistically?
Well, I'm not going to list the 17, I think there are 17 goals. That would take too long. But our development, our DAP program for short, direct aid program, cuts across several of those goals. So we've talked about the economic empowerment of women, but we've also got projects to help develop sanitation wash type projects in all parts of Ghana. Good governance, human rights, and also renewable energy. I don't know whether that's an SDG goal, but it cuts across the 17 very broadly. I should add that we also contribute via the big multilateral agencies. Australia is one of the top donors to UN Women, for instance, and a very important donor to UNDP. It's hard to track exactly how those funds get back to Ghana directly, but undoubtedly they have an impact in the region.
That is great. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been here with Her Excellency Berenice Owen-Jones, the High Commissioner of Australia to the Republic of Ghana, delving deeper into the Australia-Ghana bilateral diplomacy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. From that quick one, we are still delving deeper into the Australia-Ghana bilateral diplomacy. And at the end of the interview, we'll get to know Her Excellency's favorite Ghanaian dish. Your Excellency, so going back a little, we touched on the mining sectors that the Australia government is assisting in Ghana. We know Australia is a key player in Ghana's mining sector. Can you shed light on some of the policies that they are also ensuring to ensure the solidification of our bilateral diplomacy?
Yes. So I mentioned that we had launched the Australia-Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and that we're working closely with AUSTRADE. So there are certain sectors that we're targeting. Australia is a key education service provider. We're the third largest market for international students in the world. Many of these students obviously come from our own region, many from Asia, but there's a growing number of students from West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, going to Australia to study. So that's a very promising market, and it's we have a global reputation. Our universities have a global reputation, often in the top 50, and always in the top indices for student satisfaction and way of life as well. Once they get there, it's a good way of life. So education is very, very promising. We have some top-notch research universities. And there's an interesting link between research universities and business. So a lot of the innovation is driven by business and drives business as well. So, and we've got established pathways between universities and business and research agencies. So that is something we could probably work on some partnerships with Ghana in certain fields, like renewable energy is one example. Other sectors that to my mind, seem very promising. It is clear that Australian companies have a reputation for strong integrity, strong ethics, reflecting our national character and corporate responsibility. And so in the main, it's been mining, but it could also be agriculture, because we're also a big agricultural nation with expertise in agribusiness, ag tech. And we talked about that at the launch of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So one of my ambitions is to realize that unfulfilled potential. It's important. I'd like to remind my Ghanaian viewers that Australia is the 12th largest economy in the world. People don't realize that because it's such a long way away. And situated in one of the most dynamic areas of the world, to the Indo-Pacific or the Asia-Pacific. And we're very innovative. We have a highly skilled workforce and one of the best multicultural societies in the world. So I think that there's a lot that we can offer Ghana. But conversely, Australian companies see a lot of potential in Ghana.
Wow, that's brilliant.
So I really think that we're now well placed to make the most of that. And I see my job is to shout this on the rooftops, basically.
Thank you so much. Now, touching on education, just going back once more, we touched on over 10,000 Ghanaians who call Australia home, most being students. My viewers want to know if someone wants to study in Australia, are there scholarships for Ghanaian youth, and how do we access them?
We have a program called Australia Awards, and so they're programs that are focused mainly on postgraduates, so masters, could be fellowships, also short courses, fully funded. And we've been running those courses for quite a long time. And to me, it's a very valuable tool in, we were talking about people-to-people links, because we then form a group of alumni, and these alumni are often in key decision-making positions.
Right.
And this is all over the region, actually, not just in Ghana. So it's a fantastic program. I would recommend, if you're interested, that you pay a close look to our Facebook page, because we will advertise. So this is the Australian High Commission in Ghana Facebook page, because we'll advertise when these Australia Awards, when we're looking for candidates. So we work closely with universities in Australia and with ministries here in Ghana to select the right candidates.
Sure.
Obviously, there's also, I would encourage students to look in their field of study, to look at particularly postdoctoral research, what is a good fit in some of the top-notch universities that I mentioned early on.
In Australia. Thank you so much. I think whenever there's a call for applicants, we will let our viewers know.
Yes.
Now, during the International Day of the Girl Child, the world saw the need to create an opportunities for girls in Africa as a whole. I know when we mention girl child and women empowerment, we are really excited. Thank you so much. And now we saw the need to create opportunities for them for posterity. The Australian Ambassador for Women and Girls, Madam Christine Clark, advocated for gender transformative education through the power of strong partnerships. What best policies do you think Ghana can adopt? And how is what she said being assisted by her country to Ghana?
Yes. So first of all, I'd like to say that Ghana it's got quite a good story.
Are we doing well with girl-child education?
But there's more that can be done. There's a
Right.
good story to tell, particularly Ghana can be a bit of a benchmark in the region, in West Africa. But I think we all realise that there's still some progress to be made. Particularly in rural areas. I think there's a bit of a gap there for women and girls. Particularly, you mentioned education, particularly in terms of access to education. And I'm talking about school.
Right.
And then tertiary can seem completely out of reach, tertiary education or vocational training. And I can see an imbalance in the numbers. And I'm not sure what policies need to be put in place here exactly, but I think looking at sort of labour market factors and educational opportunities could make a big difference to the economic empowerment of women, but the condition of women in general, because these are cross-cutting issues.
Yeah.
It's well known that if women are more educated, there's low infant mortality rates, there's better access to health services. It's a virtuous circle. So it's a very important cross-cutting issue, and I think the focus should be on labour market issues, and of course access to education, particularly the gap between the rural areas and urban areas. I don't know whether this is relevant, but I think having more women in politics would also help a little bit. I don't know whether an affirmative action bill is the answer. I really don't have the answer to that. But I personally would like to see, because I meet so many Ghanaian women who are breaking the glass ceiling and so talented. I'd like to see more of them in Parliament. So I don't know whether that needs to starts with the local government,
Right.
women presenting themselves for elections. I'd like to see more of that. So yes, there's more work to be done. But there's more work to be done in Australia, I'm sure.
Right. Thank you so much. I think this is where we'll start the signing off. But you've been in Ghana for over a year. What's your favorite Ghanaian food, by the way?
Okay, my favorite Ghanaian food. For lunch, I had red.
The beans?
The beans.
Gobe.
And I
It's
really
called
like that.
gobe?
Yes. Not too spicy. I actually asked my cook to not make it too spicy.
Right.
So it's probably not the full Ghanaian experience. And plantain, I love plantain.
Wow.
And I really need to be a bit more adventurous. So I'm open to suggestions.
Okay, you need to try the Ghana jollof too.
Oh yes, Ghana jollof.
The best.
Goes without saying.
The best.
I would not dare to disagree.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's been a fruitful discussion. We are super grateful. But before we sign off, this is where the youth of the world, not just Ghana, everybody watching you, girls who aspire to sit in your stead one day, what piece of advice do you have for the youth?
All right. So my advice would be, remember that your voice matters, that the youth perspective is hugely important in Ghana, but also in Africa. Africa is a young continent.
Great, that's true.
70% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa is under 30. So youth have a very important voice, but you need to decide how you want to use that voice. Do you want to see more results out of democracy? How do you lock in certain the economic or technological dividend from progress in your country? What are the issues that you want to use your voice for? And obviously climate change is a concern, not just for African youth, but Australian youth. That might be an issue that you want to work on, speak out on. So it's up to you, but you have a voice, use it. There are many ways that you can pursue your interest. We've talked about foreign policy, but many ways that you can pursue your interest in some of these issues. I would recommend diplomacy, actually.
Thank you.
Because, and I'm saying that because I know that some of your viewers inherently have an interest in diplomacy, which is why they're watching this channel. Right. And I would recommend it because there's so much diversity. Over the course of my career, I've been able to work on all sorts of issues, transnational issues, crime, climate change, counterterrorism, women's rights or human rights more broadly. What I call problems, I'm not going to invent this expression. This was Kofi Annan who invented this expression. Problems without passports.
Whoa.
Yep, Kofi Annan coined the expression. And so I would recommend diplomacy, but there are so many other ways that you can have your voice heard.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. So for approximately 70 years, Australia and Ghana have maintained solid bilateral relations. And I've been here with Her Excellency Berenice Owen-Jones, delving deeper into these bilateral relations. My name is Vanessa Zeke Ade-Ado, and I've been your host for the Youth Time Show on Grace Live TV. My outfit today was sponsored by MS Creations. MS does all the beautiful Ankara for every occasion. He's at Medina. You can find his number scrolling down on your screen. Thank you so much and see you another time. It's bye for now.